Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Today, I'm excited for today's episode. We're talking to the founder and CEO of Doriot. And what he does is he helps everyday individuals become early stage startup backers through venture staking. And that's a model that he created to make venture investing accessible to everyone. So what he does is he shares practical funding strategies, he teaches the realities of startup ownership, and he guides people through building their own financial stake in the future from the comfort of home, which is awesome. So I'm excited to be rocking out today with Gerry Hays. Hey, Gerry, you ready to rock?
I am, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Well, I'd say the most inspiring thing about all this that I'm doing currently with Dorio is that everything came from my own imagination. When I started thinking about this, this started as a 25-year journey, and a thought came in my head when I was doing my first startup that it was really hard to raise venture capital, and it stuck with me. And then fast forwarded to 2018. I wanted to go back and circle back to focusing on this particular issue, and I've been working at home since working on this. But what I was imagining happening in 2018 is now starting to unfold today. So the inspiring thing about this is that entrepreneurship, no matter where you are at home or wherever you are in the world, it starts with that mental game, the imagination of what you want to see happen in the world, what you want to see built in the world. And if you can get into that framework and that thought and that feeling around that, then everything flows from there. So anyone can do this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyone can do this if with your help, right?
Well, the mental game is something that we can empower ourselves with. So I can teach people, I teach, also, frameworks around this. But this is a game, entrepreneurship, self-sufficiency. It's a game that anyone can succeed at if you've got it right between the ears.
Yeah, I think so too. So now there are some things that don't go as planned though on the journey, and we like to talk a little bit about the bad notes as well as the good notes. And so I'm wondering, can you share something that did not go as planned and how you recovered from that?
Oh, well, gosh, even in this particular instance, it's been 7 years in the process, and I've not been able to pay my bills. This is a situation where this has required a lot more R&D than what I could personally afford. So there's been a lot of setbacks in that sort of situation. Um, but I want to turn back to the positive of this, and that is, so when you have this beautiful, amazing idea of what you want to build in the world, right? What you want to see happen is going to be in the future at some point. We don't know how long that's going to take. We don't
Hmm.
know when it's going to unfold. And in between that is that gap. And that gap is where you have to fill that with faith and this belief that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of you doing your daily thing to get there. And as long as you can stay in the game, and you're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. Trust me, I've hit a lot of roadblocks to get to where we are today. But if you stay in faith, it will unfold in your favor. You just have to kind of work through those hard situations.
Yeah, yeah, that's very similar to my story as well. It's the faith part is just it's fascinating because uh the the fear of like, it just not working out the way you need it to work out, not having enough money to pay for like next week's bill, right? That's coming out. Or even like going into credit card debt and all that kind of stuff is
Hmm.
is real. But on the other hand, when you listen to, all these entrepreneurs that have been through it, you find that many of us all have the same story. And it's just like you just stuck with it. Um, but now, can you share with me like maybe something like practical that you did when things were not, you were worried, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
was there like something that you did, like a practice that you have that you do when things are not working out well that kind of gets you out over that hump?
Yeah, and for me in this situation, right, because what we're doing is it's so hard. Um, when I get these setbacks, and I get a lot of them, I get a lot of rejections, and so I have two practices. One is that so? When something happens to me, it just, oh, is that so? So I don't attach emotional drama to it. Just, okay, is that so? Sometimes I'll just go, that's the best thing that's ever happened to me, right?
Mm.
Because that means, okay, that door is closed, but that means another door is going to open. So it keeps me in the framework of just forging ahead. Okay. What we do, Tim, as entrepreneurs, and a lot of times we do this in life, and I try to tell this to younger people, is that if um, you have this vision of what you want, but then you're going to dictate the terms and how you're going to get there, and then those terms don't happen the way you expected them to, you could create a lot of drama and you could create a lot of fear in that. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. You just keep forging ahead. And so as things come your way, you're more like flowing with it. Oh, okay, that's not the path, but there's going to be another path that's coming because I know I'm going to get to where I'm going to go. I'm just waiting for that new path to unfold. So you're trying to flow with it, not try to fight it.
Wow. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like when something bad right happens, I'm always sort of like looking at that as,
Yeah.
okay, something good is coming out of this. I know it,
Mhm.
right? And you're
Yeah.
kind of like training yourself to look for it. But I've also found that the opposite is true too, because I found myself on this massive roller coaster of emotions where something
Hmm.
good will happen and I'll like over celebrate it. And something bad happens
Yeah.
and
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's almost like you have to like when something good happens, you have to go kind of like, wait,
Yeah.
okay, I've got to be careful here, right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Tim, because you have to use the same framework for when good things happen. Is that so? Right?
Mm,
Because this is all a flow. This is not, okay, you don't stop. Progress doesn't stop when you have this great thing happen. You got to go to the next thing, right? And to go to the next thing, you have to like release this and move on. Thank this and move on. Good or bad, be grateful for it, thank it, because it's now a part of your journey, and then move on.
yeah. Yeah, because that part of this journey is that kind of up and down of not only emotions but also income too. Like sometimes you get these big windfalls and then followed by
Yep.
a drought. So if you kind of like over celebrate and spend a bunch of money that you just made, now all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're in another drought, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've got your income issues, you've got, how you're going to find your customers, how are you going to, there's a whole array of things, right? I just keep hammering back to this point. You know where you are, where you're going, you know where this is taking you, and just stay even keeled through all of it and enjoy every bit of it because it's a magical process. You said something earlier I just want to hit on, is that many entrepreneurs have the same sort of story kind of thing. I call it going through the furnace, right? Because, every entrepreneur is going to have to go through that furnace. And most people are afraid of going through that furnace. But through that furnace process is where you really start to identify or start to really see who you really are, what you're really capable of. And as human beings, we are capable of so much. It's just that society is saying, you're only capable of doing these things. You must have this, and that. But that's a rule, a set of rules that certain people put out there because it benefits them. As entrepreneurs, we have to make our own rules, and we have to see what we're truly capable of. And but to do that, you have to put yourself through a hard situation. I just no one's going to get through this life without going through a furnace. That's my belief.
Yeah, I agree. So, and I mean, you mentioned faith. So I think so. I'm sort of like going through these lessons of trying to teach my son even some things about faith.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I think is a misconception is that I don't know if everybody understands that faith doesn't necessarily mean, it'll all work out and I'm just going to sit here and wait for it to happen. Right?
Right.
And I think that that is what some people think faith is. They think that it's luck, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and it'll all work out. And the reality is that it's pretty much exactly the opposite. It's like I have faith that what I'm about to do right now is going to
Yeah.
get me to where I need to go. So I need to do
Yeah.
something, right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Faith is the spiritual empowerment, but I would say worship means execution, right?
Mm,
Or execution is the worship. You have to have faith and you have to worship. So you've got to act. And George Doriot, the namesake of the company that I started, he has a great quote. It was, without action, the world would just be an idea, right? So your actions and your execution, that's your worship.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, also sowing the seed, right? And all that stuff. Like, I know that,
Yes.
that there's just a conversation I was just having, like, it's just so crazy with my son about how, we have to enjoy life, obviously. I mean, there is, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to be spending 24/7 working, 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 and grinding and grinding and grinding. Like, what kind of life is that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
be gone tomorrow. And then what, right? So they have to
Yeah.
find your joy in what you're doing. But there also is a time when you need to be sowing the seed, and then there's
Yep.
also a time when you need to be harvesting, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and right, and I mean,
You got
if
to have
you do
both.
you
You
have
got
to
to
have
have
both.
both. Yeah.
Right. And I think that maybe in what I've noticed anyway is that it's like there are actually there's even seasons of it of like sowing and but also, in the early part of your life even there's going to be a little bit more sowing than there is going to be harvesting, I think. And then maybe in the later part of your life, if you do that properly, then there'd be more harvesting than sowing. Do you find that too?
I think that's the natural order of things, right? I think the sowing of the seeds is an interesting one. What does that actually mean? Because we could geek out on that
Yeah.
altogether, right? What does that actually entail? And then, but your point, if you're not ready to receive what is created, you're not ready to receive the harvest, then it's never going to happen. You have to be willing to give of yourself, give of your time, give of your energy, but you also have to be receptive of people's time, energy, and even their customer, even them as a customer or an investor, you have to receive that as well. It's all part of the organic process. You can't have just all giving or all taking, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah, because I think that that's another good point too. That there's got to be a certain balance with it. Because if you're, I mean, I'm pretty spiritual as well, more of like universe rather than religion. And
Yeah.
when I think about it, is that you're teaching the universe how to react to you, I guess. And so if you're constantly not taking anything, right? You're not
Yeah.
harvesting anything, then you're basically teaching the universe that you don't want it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're
So there's
pushing
got
it
to be a little
away.
bit of that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the universe is going to respond to who you are. And if you're just pushing it away, the universe isn't going to give you something you don't want.
mhm. Yep. Yeah. And so there's got to be some sort of like, balance between that where you're taking some, but then the opposite is also true. If you're constantly taking, 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 you're never giving, well, then eventually that well's going to dry. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow. So that's a lot of the mindset, I think. Right. And I don't know if all this stuff is really, I wish it was taught in school, but it isn't really. Right.
It
And
is
that's too
not.
bad.
It is not. Have you ever heard of a man named Neville Goddard?
No, I have not.
You should look him up. It's interesting, but he has framed this in a way that is he frames it in the sense of the New Testament, but he was in New York City in the 40s and the 50s, sort of as a mystic, okay? And he didn't really talk about the Bible as a historical thing. He just talked about this process what we're talking about plays itself out over and over and over again. Okay. And it's just this is that you have an idea of something, right? We talked about that. You fertilize that idea with an emotion. That's your seed. You've just planted the seed, right? But you've got to have a very strong emotion around that. Otherwise, that seed won't take. Because if you just say, well, I want a car, you don't really care. That seed's not going to take. But if there's a particular car that you want, you can feel yourself driving it. You could feel, the color, all of that, right? You sow that seed. Then you walk away knowing I've planted the seed. It's going to come at some point in the future. And then you walk knowing that that's going to happen. And and then when it does happen, right? Not through any work, right? It just you've already planted the seed and you're fertilizing the seed because you're not or you're walking in faith, you're not doubting it, right? And
Hmm.
you're taking those actions to help you get there. Then it shows up and then you're like, well, how did this happen? And then you look back and he calls it the bridge of incidents. Like, yeah, that happened, that happened, that happened, that happened, but you could never have scripted it to get to that point. So he says that process of creation plays itself out over and over and over again. And that's what many of those stories are about.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, and it has all those aspects of it, right? It has the aspect of the desire, it has the aspect of actually doing something and not just hoping it's just going to
Yeah,
magically show up.
yeah,
And also having the faith that when you plant the seed, I mean, it's just the same thing as in the garden. When you plant the seed, I mean, you can't just sit over top of it and look at it,
yeah,
right? Like you
yeah.
have to have some faith that, nature's going to take its course and it's gonna bloom, right?
Exactly. It's all natural. It's all organic, and we're a part of the same process that, of planting seeds in the garden. We really
Yeah.
are.
Now, I think like a lot of the planting seeds, I think in business has to do with the marketing side of it, the sales side of it, right?
Yeah,
Finding people to talk to. And I
yeah.
think that nowadays, I think nowadays it's I don't know, is it easier? Is it the same? I don't know. But it seems as though with social media, we are connected to a lot more people.
Hmm.
And the ability to find an audience is so much easier than it used to be. However,
Hmm.
the flip side of that is that because it's easier, everybody's doing it and the competition is
Yeah.
higher. So you have to kind of sort of stand out somehow. And
Hmm.
how do you do that? Or how do you approach, making those fans?
Yeah, and to boot, now with AI, you're flooding the system with content at a
Hmm.
scale that none of us have ever been able to see before. So
Yep.
there are so many more voices now, and I'm just looking at in the venture capital space. There are the voices have just increased exponentially because of AI. People just pulling content and flooding LinkedIn or whatever the case may be,
Yep.
making our job incredibly hard. I would say this, that in any business that you do, um, you start very small and you find your tribe. You just okay, you're not going to scale to millions and millions of people overnight. Fine, find your tribe, and that is a process of iteration, learning what connects people to this, how this can connect to them, and then they will start spreading that word.
Mm.
And that's how you really have to build a sustainable business, because you're building with people who are aligned with your principles. Our principles are shared risk, shared information, shared prosperity. And I think that's a message that gets better told from human to human, that, join, we're doing this for these reasons or whatever. But it's really about starting, getting a base and working from there. And that requires a lot of person to person contact, a lot of engagement with individuals doing things like this, right? Me
Yep.
coming out and talking about what we're doing here, right? That's what this requires. But you can get there. It's just, it's hard to get your big, huge group of fans overnight through social media.
Yeah, and I I think that what you mentioned there is that the referral base, like I know I've spoken to quite a few people on this show, and most of us actually most of our business comes through referrals. It comes through other people
Yeah.
telling people about it. And,
Yeah.
I feel like that is also not necessarily something that is obvious to a lot of people. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm just going to throw money at it and I'm going to, get ads and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily getting the results that they expect to get. And I think that's kind of the reason why is because when I think about it, even in my own life, think about yourself as a consumer. Like
Yeah.
do you really respond super well to like the billboards anymore? Or do you kind of like go on social media and say, hey, does anybody have a guy? I'm looking for a guy, right? Or a
Yeah.
girl, right?
Yeah.
You're looking through your own network for
Yeah.
people that do the things that you're looking for nowadays, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And, and then if it's a product that doesn't really exist out in the market, people aren't even looking for it. So now you
Mm,
got this education component to it, right? It's very expensive to educate people. So you want your tribe to be a part of that education process as well. So, yeah, it's just, again, I go back to this human to human contact, no matter what it is, really focus on that. And of course, if you're looking for a pair of shoes, you know, there's going to be a lot of companies competing to sell you those shoes, and using Google AdWords and ads and that kind of thing. That's out there. That's a ripe market, and you can
yeah,
play that game. But when you have these sort of undefined products, that's where human to human contact is so important.
yeah. But now, and then when we get to the next part of it, which is how do you get the referrals is really through just doing a really great job at what you do, which is, I
Yes.
mean, come on, I think that that's kind of the good news about where the world is going is that
Yep.
really all you have to do is just love what you do and do it really, really
Hmm.
well. And
Hmm.
that is just going to magically work itself through because people are going to say, hey, yeah, this is my guy. He loves what he does and he does a great job, right?
Yeah.
Why would you not refer that person, right?
Yeah, yeah. And in our case, venture staking, this is a whole new product, right? And the basic product is this. A venture stake is backing a entrepreneur early by giving them a grant. It could be as small as $10, it could be as, large as 10,000, right? But what you do is you lock in two things. A, you lock into their journey. So now that founder that you've venture staked now is sharing with you each week how they're building their business. So now
Hmm.
you're going to get that benefit of understanding what they're doing, their failures or ups, all of that, right? The sort of the faith worship journey that we were talking about earlier, you get to see that. And then if they come up on the other side and they've discovered something really amazing and they're going to go raise a round of capital to do that, you have a right to invest and buy stock in their company
Oh,
where VCs would want to come in there and get that. You have a right to buy into that. So I'm my first product, right? People venture staked me, and each week I'm providing them an update about what's happening with this business. And I love it, right? And I look forward actually to my weekly update. Every Friday at 6 o'clock, I release my weekly update, and I love it. And but from that, we've had 323 venture stakers that are in there, but I've been getting invited to go to speak to Cornell. I mean, there's a lot of things that are coming from that because people are seeing this process and they're learning about what we're doing, and they're going, huh, well, maybe I should invite them to go talk to these people or whatever. And it's that organic process that's happening, right? But I have to be the product. I can't just sell something as an idea and not have a real product that people can kick the tires and see.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like what you're doing because it's like you say, you're educating people. You're doing something that doesn't already exist out there. Because like you say, I mean, if I got another pair of shoes that are just better than the other guy's pair of shoes, well, then this is something that people already know. And now I'm just putting myself and positioning myself next to everybody else. But for something that's brand new that nobody has heard of before, this is an idea. And you got no market. So I assume that what you're talking about now is that your market is people who believe in you or believe that
Yeah.
this is a good idea, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I am in part the product, right? But we as humans are the product first and foremost. People buy from
Yep.
people, kind of like I was in the food business for a while, fried chicken business. And what I learned about that business is that people eat with their eyes. They always eat with their eyes. And if you're, when we were selling to big grocery stores, and I would tell the leaders of the stores that if you're not presenting this beautifully and or for people to see this, you're not going to sell anything. So people eat with their eyes when it comes to food, but when it comes to buying products, people buy products from people. They don't, in most cases.
Yeah. Now, so on your journey, I mean, do you have coaches? Do you do mastermind? Like, how do you learn all this stuff?
Well, there's a lot of self-study. I really try to read a lot of books around the mental game. I do believe I think I hit a road, or I hit a big wall, Tim. I want to say back in 2015. Like, gosh, I am working my tail off. I am crushing it, but yet there's no harvest. I mean, there was a harvest, but not to the extent that I thought, you know. And I'm just like, what's happening? I'm getting older. I can't keep working 90 hours a week,
Yeah.
and there's got to be something different. And then I really started switching and started looking at the mental game of all this, right? And so I did a lot of reading. I've listened to a lot of YouTube stuff, listened to a lot of podcasts around this. But I've had coaches. I was in a group of other founders for about 7, 8 years where we just kind of talked about these things. I do have a coach. I actually have two coaches right now. And I don't, I kind of work with them like once a month or whatever, but
Mhm.
there's sometimes I just go, I'm losing it right now. I am totally losing it. And they hold space for me, right? And that's what their job is. And I would recommend for everyone who's doing this, you go on this, you're going to go through a furnace. You want to be an entrepreneur, find a couple people, whether they're coaches or not, people to hold space for you as you're going through it. That's a super important component.
Yeah, I think you're right. And especially in this home business space where you're kind of alone, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the thing, there's who do you relate to, right? When you're sitting there. But if you have, I mean, the good news now is that we do have Zoom. I mean, we do have this video
Yeah.
conferencing thing where you can actually, get that
Yeah.
coffee, what is it called? The the water cooler feel where you can actually go
Yeah.
and hang out with some people that are similar minded. Because I
Yeah.
mean, there's that part too. It's not even just that you need someone to like coach you and mentor you. Sometimes you just need to like talk to somebody who's in a similar place, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of that is for you just to talk out loud what's going on in your head. Just get it out there, right? Just vomit it out. And then it'll help you sort of make sense of it. And then you can move on.
Yeah. Awesome. So it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
What's exciting in the business right now is that we are on the precipice of creating an entirely new system of capital creation through entrepreneurship. Traditionally, the venture model has been reserved for the elite few who can aggregate a lot of capital, who come from very wealthy families. And if you're a founder or an entrepreneur trying to access that capital, you had to have been, come from Harvard or Stanford or MIT, and it's a very closed knit system. That's for the 1%, but for the 99%, it's really hard. It's really hard to get the capital to get started. And this system is designed to bring in millions of people to participate at a level that they can afford. But what they're doing is they are buying rights to invest in entrepreneurs in the future, or they're reserving their rights to invest. And they're getting people started for as little as $10, but then you could put $100 into their startups in the future. And there's that sort of relationship between the founder and the venture stakers, where they're sending the founder off on a journey, kind of frontier entrepreneur, and then the entrepreneur can turn to his or her community and say, here's what's happening here, you guys. We got something great, and everyone can make a decision. Yeah, let's put some more money in and let's keep this going. It's sort of this very grassroots organic way to get, problems solved in the world.
Well, so you're probably looking for people on both sides of that spectrum, right? Like, you're looking for people that want to like be the
Yeah,
investor and you want people that want to be the inventor, right?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the cool thing about this, Tim, is that this is all done through sort of a foundation. So every time you venture stake, you're actually making a contribution into the capital creation system for a tax deduction. That gives you venture staking credits. And then there's these founders who are coming to what we're calling arenas. Now, arena could be formed around regenerating the earth. An arena could be formed around, um, the Indian diaspora, right? Where we're going to focus on funding those entrepreneurs in that particular mission or geography. Your venture stakers then can, with their credits, could enter into those arenas and maybe put a little bit of venture staking credits into someone. And now you're tied to that journey, right? So it's all going to happen through these arenas. So these partnerships that are going to happen out there are through these arena partnerships that we're forming.
Wow, that's really cool stuff. So now, is this like I'm up in Canada, you're in the States? Is
Yeah.
this something that is worldwide or is this only in the States right now?
Oh, well, we've revealed the system. It took 7 years to reveal the system.
Okay.
Now we've closed the reveal process. Now we're into the launch mode. So now we're in the process of forming some early arena partnerships, but this is going to be global. We're going to be global
Okay.
from the very beginning.
Wow. Okay. Right
Yeah,
on. So anybody can participate on both sides of it, I imagine, too, right?
on both sides. Yes,
So you'd be able to invest in companies around the world as well.
that's exactly right. Now, the cool thing is what I've discovered in all of the research that I did around venture capital is that there's one model that works better than any other model out there in terms of companies that are having success. and it's called the Thiel Fellowship. And so it's this guy, Peter Thiel, out in San Francisco. He has a whole commentary about don't go to school. I'll give you $100,000. Just go figure something out.
Hmm.
Just by getting ambitious people a little bit of money and runway and an opportunity to focus on something, that's generated really great outcomes. We want to scale that model globally. And so people who get to an arena, if they can get enough venture stakers to back them with credits, they raise a $200,000 grant to get started to conduct R&D. Then after they discover an opportunity, that's when they come back to their venture stakers and saying, hey, you guys, here's the business opportunity. And then you can decide whether or not you want to invest in that opportunity or not. No obligation, but you buy sort of a right, if you will, or a reservation to participate in that deal.
Wow. So how do we find out more?
Well, first come to Doriot.com, Doriot, right? Check us out. And then subscribe to our newsletter. And every week I'm putting out a new newsletter, and and just start getting some information about what we're doing. And I give you some updates on how things are progressing. And then, you just start organically just getting yourself acclimated to this new system of capital.
Wow. Now, so I mean, obviously, this is not a get rich quick or any type of like, it is a bit of a gamble, I'm sure, because we are betting on people.
Yes.
So I think that it's one of those things where if you don't have the money, don't go for it. However, on the other
Yeah.
hand, if you've got a dream, this is a great place to go for it, because I know that there are a lot of people that do want to bet on people, right?
Yeah. And I think this is really important, Tim. So the venture system is not brand new. It's been around since 1946, since George Doriot invented it. Okay. The numbers speak for themselves. Okay. Investing in these deals, if you do it correctly, you can earn 10, 15 percentage points above what you could earn in the stock market. Okay. You don't put 100% of your money into this, but you should be putting maybe 3 to 4 to 5% of your net worth into backing the future. If you think about where the future is heading, AI, blockchain, all these industries are going to get reimagined. That's all going to happen through entrepreneurship. If you're not investing in the entrepreneurs that are reimagining the world, you are losing out on a massive wealth creation opportunity. But what we make it available for you is if you can only afford to put $100 and buy $100 worth of stock, you're buying the stock at the same level as someone who buys $1 million of stock. You get the same exact deal terms, which means you get the same returns.
Yeah.
Right. And so this gets you into this game of having a financial stake in the future of our society in a way that's accessible no matter where you are on the income level. It's just, you just have to get yourself into this game and understand you should be an owner in human innovation, not just a watcher or a seer.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I mean, I think that it's the price point, right? I mean, like, if you're trying to invest in, brand new company, typically I think it would be a lot of money. But I mean, if you
Yeah.
can throw 10 bucks in,
Yeah.
that's something that's pretty affordable for most people. I mean, if you're saving a certain amount of money per month and you're throwing it into, mutual funds or whatever it is you're doing, your 401k, whatever it is,
Yeah.
if you take a small little chunk of that and you put it into people, I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of a cool little diversity plan, right?
Yeah. And not only that, but your immediate product, the immediate return on investment is that now you are going to be educated on so many entrepreneurs out there trying to build things. And you get to
Yeah.
learn all that in real time. It's like having like reading a book in real time on entrepreneurship. So you've got this massive flow. And right now in this world, all that education, it just falls out. We capture it, right? And deliver it. So people who aspire to be entrepreneurs could be venture staking, and when they're ready, they could enter an arena, and they are so well poised to succeed because they've been learning about what other people are doing, what they do right, what they do wrong, so on and so forth.
Oh, I love that. All right, this might be the toughest question, but who's your favorite rock star?
Oh, my favorite rock star. Oh, Roger Waters.
Nice. Right on. Pink
Yeah.
Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Good,
my
good
favorite of
stuff.
all time.
Yeah, he is man, I mean, some of his lyrics are pretty relevant even today, isn't it?
Absolutely. He's timeless.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today. This has been a lot of fun, Gerry.
I really appreciate it, Tim. Thank you.
Great. And to the listeners, make sure you go to workathomerockstar.com for more information and to subscribe to our podcast. And we'll see you next time.